What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and today I'm bringing you something kind of cool, something kind of special. This is an Articuno Manectric deck. This is, of course, the Delta Plus Articuno who likes to pick up extra prize cards for his knockouts, and that means, yes, if he knocks out an EX, he'll, of course, pick up 3 prize cards for it, which is pretty amazing. His only damaging attack is Tri-Edge, which is 20 damage base, and 3 coin tosses, 40 damage for each heads. Now, the math is a little kind of wonky on that because you're dealing 20, 60, 100, or 140 damage. But basically, you can kind of think of him as dealing 80 damage on average, even though he can't deal exactly 80 damage. So what you're looking for is an attack of maybe 100, maybe a little more than 100 to help set you up for KOs with Articuno and pick up big prizes. And that is exactly what this deck plans to do. And at the same time, power Articuno up. So we're running 2 copies of Articuno. That should be all we need. And of course, who does slightly over 100 damage and can power Articuno up for his 2 water and a colorless attack? Well, Mega Manectric, of course. His free retreat, pivoting, powering up with Turbo Bolt, his 210 HP. I mean, all that speaks for itself. It's an amazing Pokemon. This we already know. We're running 3 copies because we are trying to focus on our goal of getting Articuno set up. And Mega Manectric, of course, is also pro at picking off small things like Shaman EX and whatnot. So that's also cool. It's 2-hit KOs pretty much everything. But yeah, he's something we're going to try to get up, and it's very easy to set up early to mid-game. And we're running 4 copies of Manectric EX because he is a very good attacker and backup attacker. His overrun damage can set us up for knockouts with Articuno. He can easily go to town with his Assault Laser. He is terrifying for things like Yveltal EX. And regular Yveltal's not too fond of him either. He's just an amazing secondary, tertiary attacker, kind of depending on how you look at it. So that's our offensive core. Support-wise, we're running 2 copies of Slowking, partially because the disruption gives us, kind of a turn or 2 ahead on our opponent, more or less, with his Royal Flash. They're good to set up early and then just kind of harass your opponent. But, oh yeah, we can also attack with Psych Up, which is, yeah, that's okay. If it gets going, it can 2-hit KO pretty much anything, which is interesting. But the main reason we're running that is almost as a mask for the fact that we are running 1 copy of Walk-Off Homer Slowbro. Homer. What he is here for is basically to hide from your opponent most of the game and let Mega Manectric set up a Slowpoke with 2 energies in the late game and kind of let your opponent knock out the Mega Manectric. Like basically, you go down to 1 prize, but you let them KO the Manectric back. And when you bring up the Slowpoke, they get very confused because they thought they had, some pretty good board control there. And then you evolve the Slowbro, attach 1 energy from your hand, and you walk off Homer for the most amazing and certainly the most cheeky win you can probably get right now. So yeah, that's what he's here for. He's here for cheeky knockouts. That's what he's here for. Although you can definitely, you can discard him to stuff and. You can super rod him back if you need to, and if not, don't worry about it. But like I say, he's a really fun way to win, and with Articuno picking up extra prizes, it can be very easy to pressure an opponent into a situation where you can win with Knockoff Homer. I mean, in all seriousness, that means that if Articuno can KO 1 EX and 1 regular Pokemon, that's 5 prizes. And you got 2 Articunos, so each one only has to take out 1 of those Pokemon each. That puts you at 1 prize, which means Slowbro can do the rest. And think about it. Shaman EX, that's 1 EX right there, so that's 3 prizes. And any small Pokemon you can find to pick off with Articuno, just any old support Pokemon of any kind, they're your other 2 prizes. Like, say, like an Oblivion Wing Yveltal, for example. So, lots of interesting things you can do to actually set up your Slowbro. Now, to support the Slowkings and the Slowbro, of course, we're running 3 copies of Slowpoke, and his Tail Lure attack is a nice thing that makes him your preferred Slowpoke here. Our last Pokemon is Shaman. We got 2 copies of Shaman. He takes up less room than Octillery, and we're kind of interested in speed here, so he's definitely the way to go. Even though we're not running double colorless energy here, he still retreats for 1, and energies in our discard isn't a bad thing here necessarily because of Mega Manectric, so that's all good. And our supporters, we're running 4 Sigmar because we don't mind discarding extra supporters and energies for Mega Manectric, and we want to draw quickly to kind of keep tempo, so 4 is the obvious choice, and he's the most powerful draw card in format, period. So there you go. We are actually running 1 copy of Skyla. We got a number of 1-ofs that are nice, and early, mid, and late game, there are lots of interesting targets for her to get. And she is a very interesting versus secret target. So that's why we've got her. She's not seeing nearly as much love and attention in this format as she probably should, partially because the tempo is so very fast, thanks to decks like Vespiquen and Night March. But she is still valid, and this is a deck where I think she can put in some work. So anyway, Lysander, for all the obvious reasons. I've opted for one Zerasic here, partially because special energies are very common, and also because picking off tools can get us easy knockouts with things like fighting Fury Belt. It can also pick off those belts to put things into range for Articuno. It can also help get rid of things like Headringer so we can still attach our Spirit Links, etc. There are just a lot of cool uses for Zerasic. He just makes sense as a good supporter who can be offensive and defensive under the right circumstances. We've got AZ, because once again, we don't mind losing energies quite so much, and he can get rid of less than ideal starting Pokemon. Like if you have to start Shaman, you can AZ pick him up. And of course, late game, he can deny prizes, which makes him very solid. We're also running our final supporter is Hexmaniac. There are just one too many things that can really cause us problems with their abilities, and Hexmaniac, of course, lets us bypass that for a turn or two. I mean, shutting off Vileplume for a turn is pretty nice. The ability to stop things like Giratina from blocking our Mega Manectric for a turn. And there are lots of other kind of obscure things that are seeing a little bit of a resurgence, like Pyro or things like that we would like the ability to shut down potentially. On to our regular items, we've got 4 copies of Versus Seeker to kind of cherry pick the right supporter for the situation. We've got 4 copies of Ultra Ball. This can help reduce our hand for Shaman. It can pick up said Shaman all at the same time. It gets our Mega. It just, it sends energies to the discard, blah, 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 blah. You know it by now. All right, we are running 4 copies of Trainer's Mail. If you want to tweak the deck a little bit, this is an easy card to drop to 3 copies or even 2 potentially. But you can always choose to fail your search to set your hand up for Shaman and stuff like that. So they're never really bad. And if you don't get draw supporters early, these can help you get into them and kind of get going. So Trainer's Mail, definitely a nice card, and I'm opting for 4 because I like the consistency. We got 2 Battle Compressors because we really only need to fire 1, but a second isn't necessarily bad. It can set up supporters in our discard, and of course make sure that there are going to be energies there regardless of what we draw, so that Mega Manectric is not going to be Turbo Bolting for 1 or nothing. Speaking of Mega Manectric, we are running 3 Manectric Spirit Links, 1 for each Mega, to make sure we get it without having to dig too much or too frequently to get it. We're also running 2 Fighting Fury Belt. The difference between this and Muscle Band in terms of damage for the Pokemon who would be using this item, it's really not a factor. That 10 damage doesn't matter in most of the damage calcs, so we're going ahead and opting for this because the extra 40 can be really nice on Manectric EX if he doesn't want to Mega Evolve. And Articuno can live a couple of hits this way that he can't otherwise, buying us a potential second attack, of course, which is pretty important. So that's why we've opted for those. Play them judiciously because you only got 2, but played correctly, they can make a big impact. Now, speaking of 1-ups, we do have 1 Professor's Letter. If nothing else, you can use this to feed an Ultra Ball. But this is a nice way to make sure that we do have that energy early game, and it's a beautiful Skyla target, like I said. Also, we got 1 Super Rod. We don't necessarily need to put 5 Pokemon back as much as we might want the option to put energy back just in case things kind of go a little pear-shaped. That flexibility is nice. I prefer that. I don't think we're ever going to need to put 5 Pokemon instead of 3 back with Super Rod. So the option for energy is just too good. We're also running 1 Escape Rope. It can kind of, once again, get rid of leading the wrong Pokemon, depending on what you get in your starting hand. And Mega Manectric's Free Retreat, of course, plays beautifully with this. And our last item, we are running 2 copies of Headringer. This pairs beautifully with Manectric EX's Assault Laser, and it slows opponents down, buying us time to do all kinds of cool setup. And it can also be make things like Slow King more effective, more annoying for our opponent, letting us set our Articuno up the whole time, which is the point. And finally, we have gotten to our energies, and we are running an even 5 lightning energies to kind of get us that consistency for our Manectrics, and 5 water energies because Articuno does want 2 water energies to fire the only attack that really matters on it. I mean, Chilling Sigh is nice, but we want its Tri-Edge attack, so we want to make sure that we get those 2 waters ready and in so that when Manectric's going off, we're powering up our Articuno and we're not missing a beat there. So anyway, that is the deck. Do definitely give it a try. If you like what you see, give it a thumbs up down below. And be sure to subscribe for more stuff like this, trade videos, decks, tournament updates, and more. In fact, you can find tournament updates and follows on Twitter. I'll have my link below to Twitter, so be sure to give me a follow there too. And until next time, I will see you then.